What you want, stranger? I don't have time for chit-chat. And I am honored to meet one so thick as to think this pond is a marsh. And the politeness continues. Perhaps I am speaking with a noble. My apologies, my lord. Ha ha ha. Don't worry, traveler. I meant no offense. There are simply so many bandits here in Skyrim, and such few persons of character. As for my name, my clan once knew me as Anum, but fighting folk call me the Swamp Knight. Well, it's a short story. I carry a sword. I'm from the swamps of Black Marsh. Do you need me to continue, or can you piece it together from here? You're a clever one. Saw right through my glib response. All right, I'll tell you. But it's a long story, so you might want to sit down for this one. I was hatched in a small tribal village, lost in the swamps between Thorn and Hellstrom. In other words, in the middle of nowhere. As the hatchling of a small and pitiful clan, I couldn't afford to travel to the city and train under the guidance of the tribal guard. Right you are, but few boats stopped by my village. There were visitors. In fact, every few years, a recruiter from the city would come to the village and conscript those in the clan who showed promise. Only a handful of hatchlings were chosen. All of them were males. Males I bested in combat 100 times over. I figured the only way I'd be a soldier was to train on my own. So, one night, I went out into the deepest swamps with nothing but a hissed branch. I committed myself to killing a feather serpent. On the second night, I thought I'd vanquish 3. By the first hour, my only goal was to survive. Somehow, I managed. I labored through the bog and hid inside a hollowed-out tree. I waited and watched for predators. And as I watched, I learned. I saw how the serpent camouflaged itself in the foliage, how the Leviathan waded effortlessly through the swamp, simply by refusing all effort. I saw how on bright days, the lizard used the Hackwing's own shadow to scuttle around unseen, and how on dark days, all creatures clung to the mist. By the time I was grown, I could slay 5 feathered serpents with a single slash and do it with my eyes closed. True enough, the name came when I joined the company of fighters, many of whom were celebrated warriors from all over Tamriel. There were members who served as honor guards for tribal chieftains, and those who trained under guild masters and various regiments of the Empire. There were even retired assassins from the renowned shadow scales of legend, but none knew of who I was, or why I was recruited to join the company. The truth was, I was never supposed to be there. I had found the invitation on a courier while traveling west toward Gideon. Undaunted, I told them the story of how I trained to become a knight. I used that exact word. In truth, I'd only heard the word knight in passing. But when travelers from strange lands used the term, their words spoke with a tone heavy with reverence. That's how I wanted them to speak about me. Naturally, the company laughed uproariously at my expense. They dubbed me the Swamp Knight, and I've been that ever since. Oh, they did. But Dalum assured them I was on the up and up. He was our leader and the one who assembled the crew. I never asked him why. Maybe he was just curious. Maybe he ascribed it to fate. Maybe he thought he could make a wife out of me. That poor fool never had a chance. That's an old story. Back when the Hrothgar monks had milk in their beards from sucking their mother's teats. Okay, maybe not that old, but old. I was traveling in Black Marsh with a company of fighters. We fashioned ourselves the Honorable Eight. We were an elite band of fighters, hired to do jobs common sellswords weren't equipped for. At first, I thought the honorable part was a joke. Our company was made up of liars, drunkards, and lying drunkards. But they were all loyal, and they were all honorable. They were good beasts, mare and men. It wasn't, but Dalum founded the company to be good and do good, to wash all the grime that stuck in his scales during the war. As such, he'd only agree to work that didn't diminish what we stood for. But contracts have a way of leaving out the details. We were, and we did. Yes, there was Arnwulf, a former member of the Fighters Guild in Cyrodiil, a big Nord man with an even bigger laugh. In contrast, Ula Way never said a word. He was a retired shadow scale, and the only noise he made was when he sharpened his daggers. Moontail was a conjurer who conjured monsters as quickly as he conjured lies. And Elia, a Breton healer whose lust for men had no cure. Then there was the Bosmer Indrel. Lazy girl, that one. When we made camp, she slept in the trees, but always with one eye open. There was a red guard named Bodan, a man whose gift of strings and tongue once earned him a place beside an Argonian tribal chief. And lastly, our leader, Dalum a legendary swordsman who fought in the Great War. I used to tell Arnwulf he was ugly enough to be one. Ha 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 ha! He never laughed so hard. The job was simple. Clear out a cave of necromancers that were terrorizing one of the clans that resided near the border. The clan said a hatchling had gone missing, and rumors were abound of corpses stolen for experiments, and live bodies turned into corpses. When we got there, the shadow scale Ula Way scouted ahead as the rest of us waited near the entrance. He found bear traps and tripwires. The occupants were further in, he said, black-robed mages, chanting. The whole thing stunk like a Thalmor's wet diaper. Traps or no, bandits usually post sentries in and outside the cave. The Nord, Arnwulf, though, he got tired of all the standing around. Black robes and ominous words, good enough for him. Dalum gave a nod. Couldn't chance it. Some poor hatchling could have been on a table, about to become some sick bastard's war puppet. Sadly, no. The child was on the table, like Ulaway said, but she was already dead. The people around her were mourners. Black robes. They were refugees from Cyrodiil, Altmer, Khajiit, and Argonian, driven from Leaween. To the clans, they might as well have been wraiths. I don't know who struck first. It didn't matter. We killed them all. Well, all except one. It was an Imperial boy, hiding in a small crevice in the rock. I didn't know who he was, or if he was even with the refugees. The boy was a mute. Part of me thought it would be better to slay him, but another part of me saw the hatchling in the swamp, just trying to survive till morning. The company disbanded. Honor brought us together, and dishonor drove us apart. Me and the healer, Elia, went north. The boy, he followed. We split up in Bravel. Don't know why he chose me. Seems to me he was better off with a Breton. But as I kept going north, he never left my side. I don't think Elia would have wanted him around either. Males grow squeamish at the mere talk of children, let alone the sight of one. I kept going north, figuring at some point the boy would stop following me. Gotta give it to the little runt. He had courage. Eventually, I realized I could have walked right into the sea of ghosts, and the little Histcarp would have dove right in. I was halfway through the marsh when I decided to head back to Morthal. I turned to the pesky urchin and told him, "All right, you win." Imagine my surprise when I found myself talking to a patch of death bells. Ha 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 ha! There was no one there. Some may ask why I'm a knight without armor. Others contend I wear the mourner's clothes to honor the brave warriors I slay. Those in my company will tell you I wear it to mourn the refugees who died that day, and all the innocents who die in the pangs of war. I will tell you that there's only one thing in this world I truly mourn. My sanity. Ha 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 ha! As opposed to going backwards? I haven't thought about it, but your company makes me long for the old days. In truth, I only came to Skyrim to rid myself of that urchin. Now that I'm here, maybe I'll adventure for a bit. Or maybe I'll forge a new legend, right here in this adorable little puddle the Nords call a marsh. I remember when Arnwulf used to get drunk. He and Elia would fool around a bit, but at one time he had a little too much and got a little too brave. Half naked and beer soaked with saliva, he climbed up the tree Indril was sleeping in. Ha! I've never heard such a high-pitched scream. Moments later, Arnwulf slumped down the tree, a gash running across the breadth of his face. He ran to Elia, of course, but she refused to heal him. We never did find out who let out that scream, although we all suspected it was him. Lead, brave one, and I will follow.
Are those two at it again?
I knew it.
Just keep moving.
Nice.
We'll wear them out.
Nice. Get him. Kill him.
Hard to say. Aside from the fact that Dalamay recruited mages, I'd say the biggest difference is the name. The companions already have a long history. We were trying to make one. But we were both founded on honor and glory.
This should be
The
good.
fact that a few people around here still believe in it is a testament to their company. I can't even imagine. Our company had to live up to an ideal, but the only people we let down was ourselves. But Iskramor is a real person, and he's up there in Sovngarde, shaking his finger at Torvar every time he gets drunk. Or maybe he's nodding his head in approval. I can't tell with these Nords if drinking yourself stupid is a sin.
See you burn.
It was. I could tell you 1,000 stories of the glory days, but most of them only remind me of how it ended and what we lost. But the one I'll always remember fondly is the day we were delivering sacks of potions to a village full of Dunmer refugees. Many of my fellow Argonians didn't like what we were doing. Even Moontail scowled at the notion. But Dalome stood his ground. There were sick children who needed these potions. It was the honorable thing. I thank you, Traveler. Your words are kind. Still, to some we were traitors, and it wasn't long before they made their feelings known.
This should be good.
They ambushed our camp one night when the mist was thick. Skilled warriors with poison-tipped spears. The others fought them off as best they could. Dalome ordered me to stay with the cargo. One by one, I watched my friends emerge from the white, blood dripping from their wounds. Bodan arrived carrying Ulaway on his shoulder. He said more were on the way. He turned to Elia, but she shook her head. She was all out of magicka. Indril was the first to suggest we drank the potions from the shipment. Dalome said he would kill anyone who tried. I didn't even think. My company looked to me. They trusted me, and I knew then. It didn't matter how many of them were waiting for me in that mist. It was me against them, and I couldn't lose. The others wished me luck. Bodan stood up to speak, but it was Moontail of all people who said the words I'll never forget. Remember, child, he said, it matters not the size of their blades or the size of their numbers, only the size of your heart. And on that day, it was big enough. I'm right behind you.
This should be.
I've been looking for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver. Your hands only. Let's see here. A letter. Not sure who from. He wouldn't say, just that he was a friend of yours. Looks like that's it. Got to go.
Ready to get moving? An old friend? Well, I think we can rule out Ardwolf. This person's knowledge of the alphabet goes beyond the letter C. As for who it is, well, I have no idea. In life, you make a lot of friends and a lot of enemies. And this could be from any of them. They would if they knew how to write. Ha ha ha! Get someone angry enough, and they'll spend every ounce of their energy letting you know it. So, you can't rule out anything. Believe me, I've made that mistake far too many times than I care to count. lead. I'll follow.
So, the Swamp Knight lives. Thank RK.
Bodan, what are you doing here?
Looking for you and Elia. I searched east and west, high and low. The sands of time flowed for many months, but I managed to find you both.
I haven't seen Elia since we parted at Bravo. How is she?
I'm sorry, old friend. She's dead.
No. How?
I don't know. She was found dead in her room at the Oak Enclosure in Corol. It's not the sort of establishment where an assassin can slip in unnoticed.
With Elia, he wouldn't have to. Not if he was handsome enough.
True, but there's a reason I sought her. The same reason I'm here with you now. Elia isn't the only one. It started with Ula Wei. At the time, I was disheartened, yet I was far from surprised. The Shadow Scale builds a ledger of enemies that runs longer than a Leviathan's tail. However, while mourning one friend, there came news of two more. Arnwolf and Moontail had perished as well.
By the hist. What about the others? Ptolemy? Indril?
They're fine, as far as I know. The first thing I did was seek Dalome's counsel. He was surprised to see me, but gracious, as always. When I told him of what happened, he asked that I warn you and Elia, whereas he would stay and search for Indril. Although, to be honest, the Bosmer did not concern me as much as you two. You know as well as I do that no one will ever find her, so long as she doesn't want to be found.
Arnwolf. Moontail. Elia. Why?
A question without an answer, or perhaps far too many. When we were a company, there were no shortage of people who wanted us dead. Together, we could always fend them off. Apart, we are at their mercy.
Then we band together one last time. We take the fight to anyone and everyone who dares kill one of our own.
My friend, I see time hasn't frayed your passion. Problem is, our enemy has not a face.
Forgive me, Bodan. All those years. All those lessons. And sometimes I wonder if I've learned anything at all.
You were always his favorite. And in this case, you aren't in the wrong. Aggression may be what is needed. However, our best weapon at this point is our wits, not our blades. I've done some research on our past jobs, and it appears there is one unscrupulous lord we managed to thwart far more often than the others. A baron, in fact, by the name of Gabania. As it so happens, it seems one of his agents is in Falkreath, attempting to secure a fur deal with the local hunters. I have other leads as well, which I myself will attend to. If you can vet this one, perhaps we can narrow down our suspects.
All right. I'll find out what I can.
Be safe, old friend.
I know this isn't your fight, Traveler. But whoever killed the others must be one damn good fighter. And I'd feel better if you were by my side. You're a true friend. Even better, you're a strong one. This Baron has no idea who he's messing with. No, I don't think I'm gonna be all right. Not for a while. I'm gonna be confused, frustrated, and angry. Still, I appreciate the concern, Traveler. At times like this, I'm reminded what it is I value most, and why I have to see this through. Truth be told, it was always going to be in death. Maybe that's what the mourner's clothes were for. So when I saw them next, at least I'd be properly attired. I never thought I would be mourning them in this way. It's not. And I don't mean from assassins, but from himself. Bodan never really got over his wife's death. I don't know if I told you this, But every day he was with us was a fight to keep him alive. Tell him A used vengeance to motivate him. Looking into his eyes, I wonder if that's all but settled. But honor is a funny thing. Sometimes it trumps even love. We may not be a company, but he'd never abandon us now. If he thinks this is the best way to go about it, then I trust him. I'm right behind you.